Up, guys? Twisty in the Spiz. First time going live with this dude. I'm gonna be going live with him monthly on some stuff. We just started a partnership, and it's been one of, dude, honestly, transparently behind the scenes, probably some of the most highly engaged activity I've seen because you guys have solved something with Lucro that obviously you saw. You were like, we freaking can kick ass with helping chiropractors with bookkeeping and becoming better at increasing their profits. And the excitement level for what you guys doing. There's always the thing in startups, man. Right time, right place, smart, innovative, disruption. You're hitting all the check boxes. So before we even get in anything, dude, I got Dr. Josiah Fitzsimmons. Give me what excited you about Lucro in 2024 and what you're really like. You're like knowing what you know now, like what you're super excited about for Lucro and chiropractors in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, kind of quick background, I grew my practice so quick, million my first year in practice right out of school, 2 million second year in practice. Had a client that I was the same classmate with that signed up last week, and she was just like, man, it's been really cool to watch your growth. Last year, 2024, we did just under 7 million in our one location. And she's like, we just graduated. She's like, how did you do that? And, that was kind of how Lucro was prompted as I grew so fast over these few years. People are like, what are you doing? Can you help me? They wanted me to be their coach, their consultant. I was like, man, I don't want to do anything. There's plenty of coaching groups. There's plenty of marketing groups. There's plenty of all these different types of things in our profession. I was like, well, what's really the missing gap? Other people are in those same groups and didn't grow, to $7 million a year in one clinic. Like people are trying to figure out like, what are you doing differently? And I really realized it came down to my analysis of my data and then be able to taking action off of the data. And so when I started talking to doctors, I realized most of them didn't know their numbers. The few
Yeah.
that knew their numbers didn't know what to do with them. And so that's really what happened is I was like, man, I love chiropractic. I always joke with people, it's like Jesus and chiropractors, top two people called miracle workers. It's like, we know we have the greatest healthcare product in the world.
Yeah.
And why don't we have the impact that we have? Why do we have such a small percentage of the population? We have the great product. We're great people. The chiropractic profession as a whole, the greatest group of individuals that you're ever going to meet.
Yeah.
Healthy, faith-based people, willing to lend a hand, service mindset. I mean, we got everything from a profession standpoint. We just don't know how to run businesses. And so I was like, man, what the missing gap from a very fundamental level is understanding your monthly P&L and knowing what to do with it. So that's really how Lucro, the genesis of Lucro was. I wanted to do something that was not offered at all in our profession, but I wanted to help advance our profession because I'm so passionate about what we do and how we impact the world as chiropractors.
I have to ask this question behind the scenes. Personal branding moment for me and you. You went to Palmer, right?
Yeah.
I you are so good at adapting to, I think I picked this up on you, and it's one of you're a great adapter, I think, in probably any ecosystem and group. Did you get a chance to ever hang out with the rugby players?
A little bit, just a little
They
bit.
did they scare the shit out of you at first?
Well, they tried to recruit me. I played football in
Because
college.
you're
They tried
big
to get
dude,
me to be a
yeah.
rugby guy, but I
Yeah.
was like, I don't want any more broken bones. I'm good.
I'm gonna share something with the world right now. I thought I was a beast and I could party, and then I hung out with some of the rugby dudes. Like now they're in their fort, and I'm like, I tapped out. I secretly went home early because I was like, I'm tapping out, man. I can't party like this. I was just curious. Anyways, one of the things I picked up on you when you spoke at Close for Cairo, and you're going to be speaking at Dan Bay's mastermind group that he doesn't share about with anyone. So I just broke a rule, problem. You're a North Star at such it sucks sometimes to be a North Star at an early age because people are gonna shit on you. Like you probably got people like you got haters, more haters than you do than lovers at this point in time in your career because people go, he must have been cheating or doing something differently. And it wasn't that. It's just like what you said, it was action and analysis. You did the work and you studied what to do better. You're a great learner. Um, one of the things I picked up on is I said, this guy looks at stuff like how smart dental practices look at their numbers, profit and production. And so I wanted to jam today about one of the things that you're known for. And this is really good because when we started partnering up and I sent out through the Spiz your formula for basically, well, your formula for keeping the office productive, I got back people who were protective of you going, hey, isn't that Josiah's thing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sharing his stuff. I don't steal people's shit. Like that's it. And so talk to me about and tell people about this formula you've created that you think is probably the most crucial. Talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it really kind of was built in my own clinic when, you know, I grew my practice really quickly, and within, 2 years, like I said, I was at 2 million dollars a year, and I was like, hey, what do I do next? How do I get to the next level? How do I grow? I started studying other professions and industries outside the chiropractic
Yeah.
industry, and I said, what are they doing differently to get to the next level? And so I started reading books. I started trying to study other industries outside of profession. And so one of the things I actually discovered was, tracking my numbers, my data, and making key decisions. And one of the big parts of that was from a hiring standpoint. Trying to really understand, when do you need to hire more people,
Hmm.
right? And so I need to figure out, well, how much of my staff capacity am I actually utilizing? And so I had some team members that I was like, hey, can you do this, extra task in your downtime? And they
Yeah.
continually told me, hey, I don't have time for that. I can't do that. I just don't have any availability to do that. And I said, all right, well, let's calculate your percentage of schedule filled. These are, how often are you actually working with practice members or patients? And then how much of your time is filled? And so I said, hey, you're working X number of hours a week. Go calculate how many patient facing hours you have. Then I can understand exactly how many hours you have available left on your schedule. Well, they came back, and I was just unbelieved that, they were only at about somewhere between 40 and 60% of their schedule
When
being
you looked
filled.
at that, did you think they were lying to you, or they didn't know, or didn't understand what they were doing, and they were just being ignorant?
I thought they were lazy.
Got it. Okay, I would see that too. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I thought they were lazy. And so I was like, hey, calculate it. And then that became a hallmark stat that we would track every single week and say, what percentage of your schedule is filled? And so every one of our team members started reporting on it. Doctors, team members that do day ones, and then we
Yeah.
started tracking it for all of our, hey, how many adjustments can we handle, per 15-minute slots per hour per week? How many decompression sessions? How many day ones? How many day twos? And I started tracking this, and that really became my North Star to know, can I spend more on advertising? Should I hire more staff? It really became the direction that I was able to take most of the things within my clinic, is understanding percentage of schedule filled. And so if you
Yeah.
don't already calculate this for your office, like I think what I call it the number one missing stat in the entire profession, because I think it is the driving force statistic that every chiropractor needs to know. And I know a lot of offices know, patient visit average, or, some of those fundamental stats that a lot of doctors track. But I think percentage of schedule filled should become really the number one stat in our entire profession.
When you shared that at C for C, and I saw those eyes light up, and the deer in headlight versus the excited like all of them had, like, it was brilliant, and I'm like, this guy's got this shit down. They
Yeah,
can.
so just a little insight. I've now done it over 1,000 doctors. I've had to calculate this formula. The average is about 20% of schedule filled. For most doctors that do not calculate
Wow.
the formula, the average is 20%. It's mind-boggling all the time. Doctors come back 9%, 10%, 15%. Like, I was on the up. I've only met one doctor ever that's over 50%.
Yeah.
And the only ones, the outlier or exception to that would be the people that only want to work 8 hours a week, that have these part-time practice, that like prefer, a wait list, practice, that aren't really into growing or scaling. They just want to work a couple days a week, lifestyle type of practice. But any
Yeah.
real practice that's focusing on growing, like I said, the average is 20%. So that means, on average, your clinic can be seeing 5 times more
Yeah.
than it currently is. So whatever your revenue was last year, multiply it times 5, and that's most likely the potential that you have in your current space, without adding more
Isn't
staff,
that
without adding more hours,
crazy?
without adding more people. And this is what really blows people's mind, is like, holy cow, I could do 5 times more revenue than I did last year without my expenses for the most part changing, except
This
the
is why
cost
you've
of
been able to
acquisition.
build a 7, $8 million clinic.
Yeah, I mean, we got to 5.5 million in 1,800 square feet. And so this is really the principle that we drove it by, was we always knew, because people are like, well, how do I know when to hire an associate? If you understand percentage of schedule filled, when do I know how to hire a front desk? If you understand percentage of schedule filled, it dictates the hiring and the spending on marketing. And to me, those are the two biggest expenses of any clinic. Payroll is most always number one, right? And then you have, bunch together a bunch of different overheads, but then second biggest, singular expense is going to be marketing. So
This,
those are your two
this is
biggest expenses, and this tells you exactly when to do it and everything to do behind it as your foundational premise.
this is why you guys gotta get hooked up with Lucra, man, because I don't know any other bookkeeping service is gonna bridge the gap between what Dr. Josiah is sharing with you about on the strategic logistical level of building a practice out, and then bridging it back to now how to take it, because this is just a dude and who's you got some really other smart dudes you're working with. It's not just you. And so this is why you guys gotta get up hooked up with Lucro. If you're listening to this in the comments, you can go and get the formula that Dr. Deshish, it's a link on to the vault, which if just dude, you people should just check out the vault just for all the awesome high level stuff. Also has one of the best ebooks I've seen in the last year out. You guys can check the comments for more on links on that. On the antithesis, the analog. So you're like figured out, I think, a really great formula and KPI to be tracking that every office should be tracking, and it's eye-opening and it's disruptive and it's right. The analog is what's the number? What is the KPI? What's the KPI that you say in chiropractic is like, dude, you're wasting your time on that. But the sun's got to piss you off on the other side.
Oh man, that's a good question. I would say it's it's probably when people just have the wrong focus. And I
Uh-huh.
think a lot of it, I'm a big proponent of paying less taxes, but a lot of people I think put so much more weight into um, doing tax strategies that they put the same focus into growing their business.
Yes.
Take it, and I think in general, a lot of doctors operate more out of fear, and they focus much more on minimizing expenses versus maximizing revenue. And so taxes being one of those expenses, but I mean, I had a call where I was trying to help this lady, and her number one thing she wanted to talk to about 30-minute call, and the first 20 minutes, all she wanted to talk about is how I could help her convince her CPA to allow her haircuts to be written off as a business expense. Like
Do you
this
know
lady had
taxes then?
she had like a $1.4 million practice, and she's talking to me, and that's like her number one concern that she
Yeah.
thinks is gonna like move her practice forward. And I was like, you're focusing on the wrong thing. And I think just for in general, there's a lot more potential in increasing revenue than there is in decreasing expenses. That yes, there is some validity. That's
Did you
something I
guys
can
do your
easily
did you guys do
do.
your KPI schedule of capacity fill? Just curious with her. Did you do that with her?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Was she in that 20%?
Yeah. She was like 13%.
And she's worried about her haircuts taking off a 30%, depending on her tax. Okay. That's how some kind of, but we're human, right? We fixate sometimes on stupid things that we don't think are stupid. And you're fixing stupid in chiropractic, bro. That's one of the things you're fixing. That should be a brand tag for you guys. You're fixing stupid in chiropractic by looking at one of I share this thing my mentor John Kim who created 5'9", and he was a founder of Dr. Bay. We were talking offline about this. John, who is an Asian man, used to say to me, "Speak to me like an Asian man with a math complex." And I think that's something we got to get better at, and you're helping chiropractors get better at speaking to people like they're an Asian man with a math. It's about numbers and data. Data's not a feeling. Data is real and raw. So, um, uh, give me your pitch for why people in January or start of the year should be switching over to Lucro, man.
Yeah, biggest thing, if you don't feel like you know your numbers, and more importantly, if you don't know what to do with your numbers, because that's what I always say, 1% of value is knowing your numbers. 99% of the value is knowing what to do with your numbers. So if you feel like you're in either one of those buckets, then that's where Lucro comes in. We do your bookkeeping.
Yeah,
You have a designated bookkeeper does your books every single week. And then we literally give you a report by the 10th of every single month that says, here's all your numbers and here's what you should do with them. Here's what you should focus on in the next 30 days is going to have the greatest impact on increasing total profit.
yeah,
That just brings me up. That's an annoyance I maybe have. A lot of doctors want to focus on profit margin. What would you rather have, 50% of a grape or 20% of a watermelon, right? So we don't want to brag about having 50% profit, of a grape. We'd much rather have 20% profit of a watermelon that's running without us.
yeah.
And so you really
Really,
want to
really
focus on
insightful.
total profit for your clinic. And so again, what I really realized from my growth and how I scaled really quickly is I need evaluation and a process to always tell me what's the number one thing that I should be focusing on in the next 30 days can have the greatest impact on increasing total profit of my business. As a CEO, that should of my clinic, that should be always be my number one focus. And so, what are the metrics, the feedback loops that are giving you that data to have that focus? And so, that's the entire premise of Lucro is to give you that big focus. We say, hey, here's a stake in the ground. The gold
Yep.
is buried right here. You need to
Yep.
dive deeper into this main focus of your clinic to get to the next level. And like I said, that's where we're providing lots of resources on the vault. But we want to collaborate with people like you, people like Dan Bay, people in different areas and industries in our profession. You know, we're not trying to be a one-stop fit all coaching, marketing, anything like that. We just want to be your financial piece, give you the roadmap to make more money, and then there's different possibilities, you know, how you get to that path, down that path.
You guys are fixing stupid, like I said, in chiropractic. Here's this next generation, which I'm really excited. I share this with Austin Cohen behind the scenes, like you and Austin, and this like this that 30, 35, 38-year old who's seen what I'm gonna tell you that I won't name names, but there's some 50-year-old assholes in this profession that fuck some shit up. Thankfully the youth is coming up and fixing stuff. And one of the things that Lucro is head over to morelucro.com, get access into their vault, get on a call with Dr. Josiah or one members of his team and see how you can fix stupid in your bookkeeping, fix your numbers, know your numbers, apply your numbers better, and take that action. So the only thing that's holding you back from now knowing what you know is your own stupidity. So don't let that be part of your failure in 2025. I want to thank you, man, for fixing stupid in chiropractic and helping chiropractors get more money, make more money, save money, and make their life easier, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Peace out, bye. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.